Hello, my Gemini friends, and welcome to March 2021. This is such a different energy than we have worked with for a long time in March. Even sitting down, every time I sit down to do each of these readings, there's just this feeling of hopefulness and lightness and swiftness and energy. All the planets are direct in March. And this happens at some point in the year. Normally there's a little phase where we have a lot of direct energy in the sky, including your ruling planet, Mercury, which will have just left its post-shadow phase. And this means that there's a swiftness in the motion. Of course, we still have Jupiter and Saturn working with you in a fellow air sign of Aquarius, which is just going to support you and help you with your big vision, how you're seeing the world, and inviting in new ways of seeing. You also still have the North Node in your sign, and this month as well, Mars is going to move into your sign on the 3rd of the month, yes. And so you have the North Node and Mars both in your sign, kind of lifting you up, giving you energy. Not only that, but most of this month in March is going to be Pisces season, a fellow mutable sign, and this really activates and highlights your bigger destiny in the world, what you do in the world, how you move through the world. So there is a ton of supportive energy here for you in March. It plays well with you, and it does herald a huge moment of growth, huge moment of movement. I think about this because enjoy playing with North Node and Mars in your sign. This is the kind of energy when they're working together that just foments change and shift and movement. And it's very playful, swift energy, right? And this is all going to be happening during a month that I also consider one of the more powerful of the year. I really love equinoxes. The equinox happens on March 20th and heralds the beginning of Aries season, a season that is also very playful with you, really great for friendships and connections. And that equinox energy, where the light is balancing out, no matter north or south hemisphere. Obviously, if you live close to the equator, light tends to be very similar all year round. But for those of us who live a little further away from the equator, this is a time of balance, of recalibration, of checking in with ourselves. And so it's a really important month, I think, on our journey to check in, to calibrate, to understand how we are moving and changing. Now for you, I just feel like there is this swiftness in the air. Mutable energy is working well with you right now. You're getting to kind of be more of your natural Gemini self, which is to explore and have interesting conversations and judgment. And to kind of be in that more playful air mode. And I think that's an important thing, because I think about all the transformation y'all were going through last year and even the year before that. 8 of Pentacles, love it. And how heavy some of that work was. And to come into this kind of energetic phase that has this lightness, this playfulness, this swiftness is very exciting. 5 of Wands, getting in there, ready to have some disagreements, have some opinions, have some discussions. I like it, actually. The one thing I would say with this is that there will be energy moving in March, right, for Gemini. And you have a lot of positive support here. I really like the way things are moving around for you. 3 of Swords. Very interesting combo of cards, I would say, wouldn't you? Okay. Yeah, the energy is moving very swiftly for you. And the message that came through before we get into the cards this month, and I haven't even mentioned all the aspects this month because there's also a full moon in your 5th house in Libra, and there's a lot of energy just moving with you to get you moving. You may presuppose that you know how you want that energy to move in March. And it's important to remember that some of that presupposing isn't going to be completely accurate. So don't get too hung up on your version of events. Kind of relax into knowing that there's going to be swiftness and there's going to be some different things that come in that are good for you in the bigger picture. and that are going to really help you and be even better for you. So let's talk about that right now, because there's also a theme here with the cards that goes a little bit beyond what I was saying about that swiftness of energy, coming back to playfulness, coming back to some of that mutable air fun that has to do with connection and movement and trying and exploring, which I love. There's also a theme about healing. And you know, it's funny, these two things often do come hand in hand. I think we often think of our lives as like divided into times where it's light and fun and playful and things are just going well and we're like trotting along, and times of like sorrow and transformation. And that somehow like the seasons of life don't intermingle. I find that times when we are coming back to connection with our playful self and our light self and our creative self, that act of being creative, of getting in there, of exploring, is in itself a conversation with the part of yourselves that has maybe felt nervous to be happy, who worries, gets overwhelmed, overthinks things, overanalyzes things to keep you safe. It's a dialogue with that part of yourself, and that's what I'm seeing here. For me, Judgment is one of my favorite cards. It's an extremely powerful card. It's tied to energy like Pluto, right? Which is the great transformer. But the bigger message here always is that you don't have to carry around the weight of the past. That it's okay to find grace and forgiveness for yourself and for others, for scenarios, for any aspect of the past that you feel you have to hold on to. Judgment shows me that there's this moment this month, or maybe this is a theme all month for you, of, you know, coming to reconciliation with the past, coming to a point of grace and release. And the beautiful thing about Judgment, and why I love it so much, is there is a lightness with this, right? It's like wearing a really heavy suit of armor, and you get pretty used to it. And so you're just used to the fact that your shoulders are a little hunched and you have an ache in your neck, and that it takes you extra energy just to do basic things. And then suddenly one day somebody reminds you you're wearing the suit of armor, and you take it off and you're like, oh my God, I feel like I can just move my arms and my legs. And that's what Judgment is. And we often find grace and peace with our past when we are allowing ourselves to be fully light and playful. And that's where that dialogue comes in. Now, that release is also creating space and energy, right? There's a dialogue going on here because this release of the past is creating space and energy for what you're creating in the world, what you're building in the world. And here's the thing as well. This is not just coming out of the thin blue air. It's not like suddenly all the planets are direct and it's a specific month and suddenly you have these skill sets. I think a lot of you have been building up these skill sets for years. And actually your past is important in that way, because it's not just something that you want to forget about and push away. It's like everything that you've learned, all the skills you've gained, all the knowledge you've gained has brought you to a point of culmination, a point of understanding what it is that you're playing with and doing next. Eight of Pentacles really nods to the student becoming the master. So skills that you may have been working on behind the scenes or just over time could be really ripening at this time. And the deal is that you can't let how you've seen yourself in the past, how others have seen you in the past, how you've been hurt in the past, dictate how you take these skills moving forward. So that's going to be the dialogue. And there may be a moment where you kind of want to hold yourself back, or where you don't want to fully let yourself explore that creative avenue or that constructive avenue. And just remember that that's normal, and also that it's important to let go. And here's the thing. Whenever we grow into our next version of self, right? We realize that skill set we've been working on behind the scenes, or just naturally in our lives. We've been doing it for fun, or doing it because we just really love it, or not even really thinking about it as something that was going to accumulate into something else. And it comes into our lives and we are suddenly realizing we are on a path and we are changing quickly and things are quickly shifting. We always have to meet with a little of our own resistance and sometimes the resistance of others around us. And this is where I think 5 of Wands and 3 of Swords comes in. You know, growth is a little uncomfortable. It takes us outside of the familiar, the routine, and it asks us to lay down our arms and lay down where we hurt ourselves, where we sabotage ourselves, and where we get mired and mucked up in arguments, dialogues, and scenarios that keep hurting us. So they're showing up in this reading, and I think it's really interesting because, of course, this could be, you could look at this literally, right, and be like, oh, I'm going to have a ton of arguments with people, and people are going to break my heart. I don't do readings like that because I think there's something much deeper and more interesting going on here. Like, you may be having some of those experiences on a very literal level, and they're probably reflecting that you are changing. And sometimes when we change, people around us don't really know how to engage with us. And sometimes when we change, things that once felt really fun and good don't quite feel the same anymore. And we try and put ourselves back in that container, and guess what? It hurts. It hurts to try and contort ourselves into what we've been in the past. One thing with this swift energy in March that I'm noticing is it's very truth-bringing, it's very honest, and it really isn't interested, the energy in March isn't really interested in us holding on to old patterns, old connections that are not serving us, right? People who maybe like call you when it's convenient for them, but they don't really give you any support and they don't really care. People who just want to start up petty arguments to start up petty arguments. Is that really working for you? I mean, yes, you may have the energy to do it. It may even be entertaining sometimes to like argue the night away. But is it really with you on this path right here? The other thing I'm seeing here is a lot of forgiveness and healing. So if you have had complex relationships or you've had complex situations that there has been some clashing or some misunderstandings, this is a month where you might find that you're allowing yourself to release that and move on and move forward to the bigger, better, bolder things. So I'm really noticing that the theme here this month is forgiveness and letting go so that you can do the things you're meant to do in life and that you don't have to keep putting yourself through the ringer with it. I want to pull a final card from my Cosmic Tarot to close out our conversation today. Wow, Gems, you've got some powerful energy here. Things are moving swiftly. And, you know, when things move swiftly, things that don't serve anymore, man, they just, when we're really ready to own our path, we're really ready to step fully into ourselves, it's amazing how quickly elements that don't fit that will just like go. It's crazy. And sometimes that can feel a little overwhelming because you're thinking, maybe I'm doing things wrong because things are moving so fast. I wasn't prepared for that. But, you know, I found that there's just this efficiency that can come through. 3 of Pentacles. Oh, I love that. I like that, you know, because I look at that 3 of Swords, and that is about trying to fit yourself into a container that no longer fits you, trying to fit yourself into a role or a vision of yourself that no longer fits you. And I think about the opposite of that in many ways is the 3 of Pentacles, which is about playful co-creation. It's about great collaborators. It's about creating things of beauty and meaning and all of those amazing things that make life exciting and fun. And the thing that I keep noticing is it's like, pay attention to these pentacles. Pay attention to what it is you're crafting. This is where the really good stuff is. This is the roadway to releasing any heaviness that may be feeling like it's still lurking, right? And releasing you into a really big, exciting new path. The other thing with 3 of Pentacles is these are co-creators that understand your vision. They share it with you. That's the whole thing with 3 of Pentacles. It's people with different maybe background, skill sets, viewpoints, but you work really well together, and there's a lot of power in that. And so that has a different feel than clashing energy, right? And that's the message that's coming through. And for, you know, however that may be showing up in your life, That can show up in so many ways. It can show up, yes, in relationships, yes, in family dynamics, yes, in friendships. It can also show up inside of yourself. And often these things do show up inside of ourselves. They're not always external indicators. Often there are. But a lot of times we're fighting ourselves. We're fighting our own growth. We're fighting our own desire for beauty and safety, ease, fun, lightness, playfulness, because we're afraid if it's too easy, if it's too light, if it's too playful, if it feels too good, we're missing a step, and then maybe we're going to get in trouble, and maybe we're going to have to redo it, or maybe we are going to have to, or maybe we'll get punished for being so happy and so light. And so I often find this is an internal dialogue as well. So with that being said, I just want to wish you all a March full of support and deep friendship, healing, forgiveness, a sense of lightness and release, a sense of playfulness, and always remembering that you are allowed to choose that light, playful path. I hope this month feels warm and that you feel that sense of tingling that comes when you really feel as though you can sense that things are coming together in new ways, and to watch the magic of that. I wish such a blessed and beautiful and healing month of March, full of creativity. I will be offering tons of extra support in March over on my Patreon. It's a great little community. I would love to see you there, and I just want to thank those of you who've joined me. You guys are truly just family, and you really support me, and you all are family. Everybody is family that is here with me on this journey. So I'd love to see you there. You can also find me on Instagram and on my website, so I'll leave all of those links. And as usual, PinkLune's gorgeous jewelry. She's always got something new up her sleeve, so I'll leave her link below as well. Have a beautiful March, my beautiful Gemini friends, and I will talk to you very soon.